Chapter 54:31. The might of these skeleton warriors was indeed quite formidable. At least, that was what he thought. They charged all the way over. On the contrary, the Taurens couldn't sit still. They directly dashed over. They were faster than anyone else. They directly used powerful methods. They were invincible. Lin Fei didn't stop them from going over. Anyway, they didn't think that it was a big deal. It wasn't bad to fight them. They could see how strong these skeleton warriors were at that time. At least, they didn't see anything when they looked at them just now. They could feel that their methods were indeed extraordinary. Compared to ordinary methods, they were indeed very different. No wonder these people were so confident. Hulk One was quite ferocious. He directly smashed these skeleton warriors into pieces the moment he made a move. This guy's strength was quite strong. Not to mention, he had a certain amplification effect. These Taurens made a loud rumbling sound. These skeleton warriors were beaten to the ground and even directly smashed into pieces. However, Lin Fei soon realized that these skeleton warriors seemed to be endless. Even if they were smashed into pieces, they would recover in the blink of an eye. It was like there was no end to it. This was definitely the real human wave tactic. Such a human wave tactic wasn't something that could be seen all the time. At least that was what happened now. It wasn't that easy to deal with these skeleton warriors. Just look at the Taurens now. Although the Taurens were domineering and invincible, facing so many Taurens, they seemed to be unable to keep up. As time went on, they would definitely lose. Just this point alone proved that these skeleton warriors were quite domineering, quite ferocious. It would have been fine if you had said something ordinary. But these words were really quite ferocious. If they were to fight, not everyone would be able to beat them. Lin Fei, I know that your subordinates are quite powerful, especially this Tauren. He actually has an amplification effect. However, it's impossible for you to defeat these skeleton warriors. They aren't as easy to deal with as you are. This is just the beginning. The person on the other side spoke again. His voice was very cold, but it was filled with endless confidence. It seemed that this could prove one thing. The power of these skeleton warriors was definitely beyond imagination. With a loud rumbling sound, more and more skeleton warriors appeared. Lin Fei had also figured something out. It turned out that these skeleton warriors could actually split up. That was to say, after killing one, two would appear. Two would become four would become six. The scene was getting bigger and bigger. It was no wonder that these fellows were endless. It was really ferocious. At the very least, the Tauren and the others felt great pressure at this time. It was completely different from before. At that time, the Tauren was quite excited, but now it was different. He felt like he couldn't beat them. These Minotaurs did feel a certain amount of pressure. Moreover, the consumption of energy was exceptionally large, even if they were more powerful than ordinary demonic beasts. But at this moment, it seemed like he could stand to the side. The skeleton warriors here were the most ferocious. It was a real sea of people. He had finally learned something new. At the very least, this was the first time Lin Fei had encountered such a situation. Lin Fei waved his hand and told Hulk One and the others to retreat. After all, he knew that there wouldn't be a good outcome if they continued. It was better to let them retreat first. Hulk One and the others retreated right away. Retreat. Those skeleton warriors directly charged at them. They were really domineering. It seemed like they were going to continuously beat them to the ground. Just these things, how strong can they be? Chapter 54:32. These skeleton warriors were indeed ferocious. It could be said that they were ferocious beyond belief. Just like that, they directly attacked. As soon as they attacked, a wave of power swept over them. It wasn't an ordinary speed. It was truly ferocious beyond belief. It directly swept them away. In an instant, they were turned into so-called fragments. No one would be able to withstand it. Only those who were far away could feel how strong this so-called Lin Fei was. There was a loud rumbling sound. Along the way, almost none of the skeletons could withstand it. They were directly killed. Not a single one was left. Every single one of them was completely wiped out. Lin Fei just stood in front of them quietly. Like I said, the strength of these guys is just SOSO. You guys really don't take it seriously. What other methods do you have? Just bring them out and let me have a good look. Otherwise, I think you guys won't have any chance to make a move. Just like that, Lin Fei walked out. He looked at these people quietly. These people were exceptionally strong and ferocious. The human wave tactic was very terrifying. It was also very, very powerful. It really wasn't something that just anyone could casually withstand. Only people like Lin Fei, who had strong combat power, could withstand it. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't be able to withstand it at all. Those people's expressions changed slightly. Although they couldn't see clearly, they could feel that there was a huge change in their heartbeats. Only they themselves knew how strong this person was at this moment. It was indeed a lot different from what they had imagined. His strength was indeed very strong. If they really attacked, it would be different. They would really fly up fiercely. You are quite strong. We have really underestimated you. So, we will definitely take out our real big move. There was a loud rumbling sound. They saw an illusory figure appear, just like that. After this illusory figure appeared, it directly covered the sky and covered the sun. Everyone could feel how terrifying this thing was. It was top-notch terrifying. No matter who it was, they could feel it. How can there be such a thing? I've never thought that something like this could exist. They had never seen such an existence before. It could be said that in an instant, he felt incomparably powerful. This power was something that everyone could feel. Of course, some people could tell what it was. This was a top-level existence, a powerful existence. It could be said that he was very, very powerful. The moment this phantom appeared, the scene was incomparably terrifying. Everyone could feel how powerful it was. This kind of strength was completely different from other kinds of strength. This kind of shadow directly came down with a loud rumble. It was as ferocious as Mount Tai. If there was no comparison, there would be no harm. Just like that, he made people understand what was called difference. At this moment, something truly invincible appeared. What could be more ferocious and different than this? Absolutely not. Lin Fei only needed to raise his hand to easily deflect the attack. Only he knew how strong he was at this moment. The phantom couldn't be seen clearly, but one could feel that it was quite dangerous. This danger could be said to be the kind that directly enveloped them. It didn't look like anything else. Lin Fei squinted his eyes slightly. You do have some tricks up your sleeves. I didn't expect you to even take out such a fierce thing. I have indeed underestimated you people. If I'm not wrong, this thing should be the so-called heroic spirit, which is the heroic spirit left behind by the top expert in this space after he died. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to summon it. Lin Fei wasn't a rookie. Naturally, he could feel it very clearly. These things were summoned from here. These people should be the so-called black art of cultivation. Chapter 5433. It could be said that this hero spirit was quite powerful. If it wasn't for Lin Fei's powerful mana, he wouldn't be a match for these guys at all. He would probably be beaten to the ground in an instant. Many people in the distance also came back to their senses. It seemed like that was really the case. If it was something else, they might not think much of it. He felt that Lin Fei's strength was indeed quite terrifying. It was quite powerful. If it was something else, it wouldn't be a problem. However, this thing was quite different. No matter who it was, they could feel how terrifying it was. Of course, more importantly, they could feel that these guys weren't pure guys. They were quite ferocious ones. In other words, they were the so-called dark sorcerers. Only dark sorcerers had such abilities. Otherwise, they wouldn't have such means to summon this thing. The heroic spirit continued to bombard them, again and again. Although Lin Fei had resisted countless times just now, it was somewhat impossible to break through his defense. These people were quite domineering. They actually summoned it again. It was completely different from before. Another so-called hero spirit was summoned. This hero spirit used a huge axe to make a loud rumbling sound. It directly smashed down. It was different from before, but it also made him realize one thing. That was that this hero spirit was indeed quite fierce and powerful. With two coming down consecutively, the pressure suddenly increased. It also made many people feel the pressure. The pressure was really quite obvious. But to him, this was really nothing. Your strength is indeed quite strong. I don't know if there are more. Can you summon more? That way, I can save more effort. Lin Fei's words made their faces change slightly. After all, at this time, they could clearly see what the situation was like. These guys were indeed quite fierce. The two hero spirits came down with a loud rumble. One would be able to experience the difference. It was really extraordinary. All of a sudden, Lin Fei made his move. His move was an attack that could topple the mountains and overturn the seas. It landed directly on the wall. The bombardment was enough to make people feel that something was different. Initially, the black armored man didn't think that this guy would have any tricks up his sleeves. However, after a while, he realized that there was something different about him. The valiant spirit was actually killed by this palm. It was really a little unbelievable. What was this? He was actually beaten to death just like that. Lin Fei has killed 2 heavenly Dao heroic spirits and obtained a heavenly Dao medal. After these 2 heroic spirits were killed, a scene that made people feel like they were quite powerful appeared. A dazzling object fell directly in front of Lin Fei. It also made many people secretly feel a little nervous. This situation was a little different from what they had imagined. What was this heavenly Dao medal? It actually said that it could only be obtained by killing a heavenly Dao heroic spirit. It was indeed unbelievable to them. It was as if he had just had a dream. If it was something else, it would be fine. But if it was this thing, they couldn't figure it out for a while. On the other hand, the men in black armor were dumbfounded. Until now, they were still confused and couldn't figure out what was going on. That powerful existence was actually killed just like that. It really felt like a dream. This guy actually had such strong strength. It was really unexpected for ordinary people. The 2 of them could summon this thing. That was quite a difficult thing to do. If they wanted to continue summoning it, it would basically be impossible. It seems that the 2 of us still underestimated you. I didn't expect your strength to be so strong. It was still the same hoarse voice, but it obviously had a different tone. He made a big contribution for them for no reason. Chapter 5434. Naturally, Lin Fei was not in a hurry to make a move. He reckoned that these guys were the most anxious. Just now, he had displayed an incomparably powerful strength. 2 hero souls had been destroyed, so one could imagine what they were feeling right now. They were definitely in a terrible mood. He had killed this so-called heroic spirit and obtained a heavenly Dao medal. This thing was a little different from other things. It was really quite good. Although he had not seen the specific use of it, it was definitely not something simple for the heavenly Dao to reward it like this. He was quite clear about this. If you have the ability, then come up and let me have a good look. If you don't, then you could stand aside. Lin Fei did not go out. These guys were indeed quite powerful and cunning. If he foolishly took the bait, he would probably suffer a big loss. Otherwise, they would have attacked long ago and would not have waited here. Lin Fei decided to face his opponent's movements without moving. If they had some tricks up their sleeves, then he would make a move. Anyway, he would not suffer any losses. You're quite strong, but as long as you hand over everything in the farm, we won't do anything to you. Especially the peaches of immortality and the legendary ginseng fruit. I think you'll be willing to hand them over, right? The voice of the man in black armor was very cold, but it was very loud. At this time, everyone heard it clearly. Perhaps they did not feel much about discussing this thing. However, some people quickly went to check it and found that they could actually get back 100,000 gold coins. All of a sudden, their eyes lit up. What was most inconceivable was that this guy was actually infected with the so-called ginseng fruit. Of course, they knew that this thing was not simple. However, they did not even have enough seeds from where they got them. But this guy was good. He directly obtained the seed. There was really no harm without comparison. The price of his ginseng fruit was incomparably high. It was really high to the extent that they were drooling. Now, they finally knew why these people were rushing to this place. It was because they were capable. If they could snatch this thing, they would definitely have a big harvest. Even if it was some other powerful forces, it was the same at this time. He was more or less surprised in his heart. I didn't expect this guy to have so many good things. If it was just any random thing, they wouldn't care. But if it was such a good thing, then it was completely different. Lin Fei was quite surprised as well. He didn't expect these guys to know about this, and even know about the immortality peach ginseng fruit. It could only be said that these guys were quite capable. If it wasn't for some special means, how would he know about this thing? While he was pondering, he began to study the heavenly Dao medal. As soon as he studied the heavenly Tao metal, he knew what it was. It turned out that this was a powerful defensive formation. It could be used for 3 days. Within 3 days, nothing could break through it. This made him quite happy. This thing was really useful. Without any hesitation, he opened the Heaven's Path metal. A powerful defense was immediately activated. They surrounded the entire farm. Then, Lin Fei's voice floated out. "Don't you guys want to attack? Go ahead and attack me. I'll give you a chance. I hope you don't miss it. Otherwise, it will be a waste and a pity." Then, Lin Fei's figure disappeared. This scene caused many people to secretly frown. The situation was a little different from what they thought. This guy actually left just like that. Was he not afraid of the people in black armor attacking? At first, they didn't see it clearly, but in the blink of an eye, they saw it clearly. It seemed that the so-called Heaven's Path metal was a formation. No matter how the people in black armor attacked, they couldn't break through it. It was really shocking. It was really unexpected. Chapter 5435. Lin Fei's actions really made everyone dumbfounded. They didn't expect this guy to get the so-called heavenly Tao metal and directly use it as a formation. He directly used it. He didn't seem to be worried that it would be a waste after using it. Anyway, to the people in black armor outside, they were a little dumbfounded. They came in a menacing manner. In the end, they encountered a scene that made them feel incomparably terrifying. They actually got slammed at the door just like that. On the other hand, they lost 2 heroic spirits, which was not a small matter. It was definitely a big matter. Anyway, they were quite helpless at this moment. After looking at each other, they instantly left. What was supposed to be a spectacular battle was resolved just like that. It was the same for the onlookers. They were really happy for nothing. He cursed and left, thinking that he could pick up a bargain, or rather, fish in troubled waters, as the legendary so-called fishing in troubled waters. But now, they realized that they were thinking too much. It wasn't fishing in troubled waters at all. They couldn't even put on a show. Lin Fei wasn't surprised at all. These guys knew from the moment they arrived that they would have to settle things with a result. In the end, they left just like that. It was really disappointing. He thought that this guy would ruthlessly come. In the end, he realized that this guy was not good at all. Of course, their strength was also quite good. If he didn't see it with his own eyes, he really wouldn't dare to believe it. Okay, do you think this guy will come? He looks quite mysterious and quite ordinary. I don't know where he came from. Nioi also came over. He had clearly experienced that there was no luck and there were no clues. It was as if these guys appeared out of thin air. These guys were indeed quite terrible. These guys are really not easy to deal with because he is different from others. This kind of person is really difficult to deal with. Lin Fei smiled, but it doesn't matter. They don't dare to have too many tricks up their sleeves. That's it. In 3 days, either they come or they don't. But if they come, I will definitely teach them a lesson and let them know the difference. Lin Fei wasn't really worried about this. If these fellows came, there was nothing to be afraid of. He didn't use any tricks from the beginning to the end. As for what these fellows were capable of, he knew a little bit. Very soon, this world would be very different. It was just as Lin Fei had thought. 3 days later, these guys really didn't come. It was as if he had disappeared into thin air. This was quite a surprise to everyone. These fellows would continue to attack, but in the end, he realized that he was thinking too much. These guys didn't dare to make a move at all. Instead, a special force was formed. That was the so-called Dark Farm. If it were anything else, it wouldn't be a big deal. But the Dark Farm was different. However, after this Dark Farm appeared, another one appeared in the blink of an eye. That was the so-called Guang Farm. It was indeed inconceivable. Previously, there was darkness, but now there was light. If one didn't look, one wouldn't know. One look and you'd be blind. Sir, it seems that this space is getting more and more interesting. Both Dark Farm and Guang Farm have appeared. Moreover, these 2 farms are very powerful. They took down a lot of people in one go. Bull One came to report as soon as possible. After all, he was considered a part-time job now. He kept inquiring about the situation outside. However, the situation outside didn't seem to be right. It wasn't like what he had imagined. Isn't this very normal? There are definitely more of them than you think. Moreover, there are only 2 of them now. There will be more later. This place is getting more and more interesting. Chapter 5436. After what happened to Lin Fei's farm last time, no one dared to make a move. Even the Dark Farm wouldn't be able to take it down in a short period of time. One could imagine how strong they were. The stronger they were, the more there was nothing to worry about. He just had to do his own thing. It was as simple as that. Everything else could be put aside for now. However, the things he received from signing in were quite ordinary. The ginseng fruit was getting closer and closer to maturity. He paid a lot of so-called merit points, but the effects were quite obvious. Originally, he would have to wait for a while longer, but after this incident, he didn't want to waste any more time. He felt that there was no need to wait any longer. Thus, he decided to play some tricks, which was to let merit grow. This merit points was quite useful. As long as he had this merit points, some of the things in the farm would grow a lot faster. Compared to the past, there was a huge difference. The entire farm was filled with the aura of the ginseng fruit. Although it wasn't ripe yet, he could hear the crisp sounds coming from the trees. It was like children talking to each other. It was quite interesting. Lin Fei also cared a lot about this thing. One had to know that this thing was quite important. If it was anything else, it wouldn't matter, but this thing had to be taken seriously. There were already many people outside. Even a few days ago, there were people who came to find out how much this ginseng fruit was worth. Lin Fei didn't plan to sell it at all. He definitely had to keep it. It would be good to eat one when he was free in the future. He heard that this ginseng fruit contained powerful magic power. Magic power was completely different from other things. It was really magical. This thing soon appeared in front of him. It was really very beautiful. With just one look, he knew that this thing's taste was really top-notch. He couldn't find a ginseng fruit that was more unique than this. Lin Fei was already standing under the tree. When he saw these ginseng fruits, his eyes narrowed. It was finally going to mature. Good stuff. What else could be better than this? There really wasn't. At least, he wouldn't be able to find it in a short period of time. If it was anything else, Lin Fei really wouldn't be interested. But this ginseng fruit was different. He easily took it. The taste of this ginseng fruit was quite different. Just one mouthful was enough to make the magic power in his body undergo a huge change. It was really incredible. This one was far more ferocious than Lin Fei had imagined. Before he had eaten it, he didn't have any ideas. But now he had a lot of ideas. He definitely couldn't miss out on so many good things. All of them had to stay. It was just that simple. He had to eat it himself. Of course, Neo, Lilith, and the others also experienced the wonders of the ginseng fruit. They also ate a lot of food, which made their eyes light up. However, just this one made them feel different. If he allowed them to continue eating, they would definitely not be able to take it. After eating one, they all went to refine it. Only Lin Fei could withstand it easily, digesting a ginseng fruit in the blink of an eye. Then came the second, and then the third. The fruits on the tree fell into Lin Fei's stomach one after another. It could be said that their lives were truly wonderful. Before he had eaten it, he didn't think much of it. But after eating it, it was completely different. This was the true delicacy. Basically, most of the ginseng fruits were eaten by him. It also made his magic power incomparably thick. There seemed to be a huge change compared to before. This change was quite obvious and could be seen at a glance. In particular, this magic power even contained a divine aura. It was indeed very different from a past. What was top? This was the real top. 7,017K. Chapter 5437. After this batch of ginseng fruits matured, Lin Fei's strength improved greatly. This improvement was the kind that could be seen. No one knew how powerful this thing was. After this batch matured, he waited for the second batch. After all, the second batch would take some time. If there were a few more batches, his magic power would become incomparably strong. This magic power was different from other magic power. It seemed that this ginseng fruit was quite good. As for what level his strength had improved to, he felt that it should have improved a lot. It was different from before. It was a pity that he hadn't met any so-called experts yet. It was indeed a little disappointing. Although the people in this Heaven Dao space were quite strong, he didn't think that they could affect him in any way. What he had to do now was quite simple. That was to wait and see what the Heaven Dao space would become in the end. There was a brief period of peace, and nothing happened. However, Lin Fei could clearly feel that there was something different. If nothing goes wrong, there will be movement soon. Lin Fei could clearly sense the dangerous aura. It came just like that. This dangerous aura was quite obvious. It made Fei feel exceptionally motivated. If he didn't have the motivation, it would be fine. But with motivation, it was different. At least he could move. He had snatched so many merit points and produced so many farms. Naturally, it was very different. This process finally came half a year later. Indeed, he was extremely shocked. He could only see streams of power descending upon him in an instant. After falling, everyone felt that there was something different. It was as if the power in their bodies had been sealed. Then, there was a huge turbulence in the entire space. Such a turbulence was really a mess. Everyone could feel that this was different. There was really no feeling if there was no difference. That's strange. My strength seems to be faintly disappearing. Although my magic power is incomparably strong, it is still greatly affected. Damn it, what is the Heaven Dao space trying to do? For the first time, Lin Fei couldn't figure out what the Heaven Dao space was trying to do. Although he had heard from God that there was a secret here, he still doubted it. Now, he felt that there was no need for him to suspect anything. This place was truly terrifying. He could feel that this space had expanded infinitely, and at the same time, his strength had been sealed. It was as if he wanted to turn this place into an ordinary small place. This was definitely an incredible thing. Even if you seal your strength, I'll still be the strongest when the time comes. Lin Fei quickly stopped thinking about it. Thinking about it was a little vexing. He knew very well what kind of situation he was in now. No matter what happened, it had nothing to do with him. On the contrary, some people began to panic. They had no choice but to be anxious. After all, it was obvious that his strength was being suppressed. Such a situation was really hard to believe. This was the truth. All of them were a little anxious. It was fine if you said you weren't anxious, but things were different now that you were anxious. The commotion had been going on for a long time. During this period of time, even Lin Fei himself was a little surprised. If it was something else, it would be fine. But this was quite a headache. His strength had been sealed. These places were getting bigger and bigger. It was as if the world had been enlarged. In other words, there would be more and more people coming. Chapter 5438. Lin Fei was still guessing. He thought that this would end soon. In the end, he realized that he was thinking too much. It actually didn't end in a short period of time. This continued for 2 years. Sign in successful in the world of chaos. Obtain mysterious yellow energy. His words came at the right time. The notification for today's sign-in was also very different from the usual ones. At the very least, it was a world of chaos that he had never heard of. He didn't know how big the world of chaos was. In the past, it already felt like this. But now it seemed that this was truly different. It was the kind that really made people feel that it was unimaginable. Mysterious yellow energy. In the blink of an eye, it entered Lin Fei's body. Then, there was a huge change, and this change was quite obvious. His body had a certain level of strength again. That's right, it had increased a certain level of strength. It was completely different from before. Before, he could still feel it, but now it was the same as being able to resist a certain level of the seal. This kind of situation was very rare. At the very least, it wasn't like before. This made Lin Fei a little happy. It seemed that this should be considered a small flaw for the heavenly Dao space. No, it was now called the world of chaos. What could be more exciting to him than this? He really didn't think about it. Anyway, to him, this mysterious yellow energy could change his strength a little. Then, no matter what the world did, he had nothing to worry about. It could affect some things. Of course, the entire world of chaos had also changed a lot. The space continued to expand. Mountains, rivers, and seas appeared one after another. There was no end to it. It was as if there was no end to it. There were even some special places that appeared. Now, he finally understood why there was a farm. The things in the farm, the so-called merit points, could finally be used. After some of the power swept over, it turned into a terrifying attack. Only the power of merit could resist it. In other words, they used merit points to exchange for some treasures to resist. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to resist at all. Thus, they entered the 10 years of suffering in the world of chaos. This was also caused by them. These 10 years could be said to belong to this world of chaos. All kinds of powers were running amok. Without a certain foundation, it was impossible to persevere, not to mention being directly eliminated. This situation was quite common. At the very least, they had experienced it before. Even Lin Fei himself was the same. His foundation was considered solid, but the consumption was also quite large. Fortunately, he had a ginseng fruit tree and an immortal peach tree. More and more gold coins were being exchanged. Naturally, he would be able to construct a powerful array formation to resist the elemental attack. This resistance lasted for 10 years. 10 years later, another powerful ray of golden light swept through the area and discovered that there was a huge gap between them. Everyone's strength seemed to be suppressed to a certain extent. Even Lin Fei was the same, but he found that his strength was only suppressed by 50%. If it was someone else, it wouldn't be the same. Even if he only used 50% of his strength, he would still be exceptionally powerful. There was no need to even mention his body. After obtaining the heaven and earth chi, his body had been greatly improved. There was nothing else to worry about. Then, everyone heard a voice. The world of chaos has begun. If you can become the overlord of this world of chaos, you will be able to obtain the ultimate reward, the heavenly reincarnation Tao. This voice wasn't very loud, but fell into everyone's hearts, shocking countless people. Those who didn't know might not know what it was, but those who knew were all breathing heavily. Finally, the most anticipated scene appeared. Chapter 5439. What was the heavenly way of reincarnation? Many people were surprised by this. Even Lin Fei felt the same way. He was also quite surprised. He had never heard of it before. He could clearly feel that the so-called heavenly way of reincarnation was definitely not an ordinary thing. Maybe this was the secret of God. This was the top secret. The next second, he should know what the heavenly way of reincarnation was. It turned out that the heavenly way of reincarnation was a very powerful thing. It could allow one to undergo reincarnation cultivation once. In other words, in a special world of reincarnation, they could cultivate again and their strength would be superimposed. Now, Lin Fei finally knew why even the people above came down. It was to snatch such a thing. It was definitely a really good thing. The sound he heard faded away. As for how to be the overlord, Lin Fei had some idea in his heart. He wanted to be the strongest in order to be able to do it easily. If he didn't become the strongest, he wouldn't be qualified at all. It seemed that the so-called big battle royale was about to start. Everyone's strength was temporarily sealed. This was also the reason why everyone's strength had more or less changed. But this was nothing to Lin Fei at all. The first year of the chaotic era began. Everyone knew what the heavenly way of reincarnation was. They finally knew why some people would make arrangements in advance. It was to come down and strengthen the heavenly way of reincarnation. If they could get their hands on this item, it would definitely be a top-notch item that would make their eyes light up. Sir, doesn't this mean that the big battle royale within 100 years will be very fierce? But this big battle royale seems to be a little different. Hulk One was quite a considerate fellow. He could see it too. The current situation was indeed a little unusual. In the past, the farm with more gold coins and merit points might have a lot of advantages this time. Lilith also came over. They all knew what was about to happen in this space. It was the so-called Big Battle Royale. This Big Battle Royale was really a little different from the others. It's fine. Let them fight it out. Anyway, we won't get involved here. Let's just plant things and harvest gold coins. As soon as Lin Fei finished speaking, immediately, he felt that something was different. In the next second, he arrived next to the sky screen. Just now, he actually saw the sky screen refresh. He was right. It was time to refresh. When it refreshed, there would naturally be a lot of items appearing. He wanted to see what he could get this time. So that's what it is. No wonder it requires so many gold coins to buy it. Even if you use merit points, you can buy the items that respawn inside. I have to say that Heavenswell is quite good at manipulating things. He's just like a businessman. To think that some puppets would appear in the beginning. Some of these puppets were strong, while some were weak. For example, archers and axemen. It was a very primitive state. Of course, he could also add certain skills to these archers, axemen, and even broadswords. He must have some tricks up his sleeve. Good lord, this was completely different. It was really the start of a big battle royale. The more gold coins a person had, the more puppets they could buy. Their combat power was also getting stronger and stronger. Lin Fei wondered if he should buy some. With his strength, there was nothing to be afraid of. Moreover, there were thousands of torrents. There were no more torrents that could be sold. The strongest should be this archer. I have to buy the archer. I have to buy the broadswords too. It seems that I have to spend money. He had to go back and see if the ginseng fruit could be sold. The archer was 100,000 gold coins each. The broadswords were 500,000. Chapter 5440. 100,000 for an archer wasn't expensive. Lin Fei bought 1,000 archers. It was just 10 million. Now, it was a little expensive for a broadsword user to buy one for 500,000 gold coins. He directly bought 100 of them. That was 50 million gold coins. Whether it was an archer or a broadsword user, one could feel that they were different after buying them. It could be said to be quite ferocious, but they were a little weak. Then, Lin Fei knew how to operate the archers and broadsword users. They had to go out and fight constantly to slowly improve them, or they could buy some skills for them. Good lord, he was really calculative. He wasn't in a hurry. He could sell the next batch of ginseng fruits. Then he could get a lot of gold coins. That way, he would be able to upgrade these archers and saber wielders. Half a month later, a chaotic battle broke out, and some of the smaller forces were immediately swallowed up. Deity Sage's Dark Farm, Radiant Farm, and even some other farms appeared in a frenzy. Deity Sage's Dark Farm, Radiant Farm, and even some other farms appeared. Their methods were very powerful. They expanded their manpower immediately. They also knew that expanding their manpower was equivalent to building a foundation. Almost every day, it was possible to see people being eliminated, and there were also people who were recruited. Lin Fei's side was quite quiet. Everyone knew that Lin Fei was very strong. Although everyone's strength was greatly affected, no one dared to guarantee what level this guy's strength had reached. If they were unlucky, they didn't dare to say anything. If possible, they really wanted to test how strong Lin Fei was. After all, Lin Fei had ginseng fruits. He could buy a lot of puppet archers and broadsword users. Some of them were even other things. It was time to harvest another batch of celestial peaches. Lin Fei was naturally interested in the heavenly path of reincarnation. His current strength had indeed increased to an extremely high level. If he could reincarnate again, he would be even stronger. However, he wasn't very clear on how the heavenly Tao's reincarnation worked. However, he had to get his hands on this thing to play with. The others knew it was so crazy. 100,000 gold coins for an immortal peach was pretty cool. In one go, he had obtained tens of millions of gold coins for Lin Fei. This time, there were so many immortal peaches, but he didn't eat any of them. It was directly used to exchange for gold coins, which were used to purchase the so-called skills. The archer immediately gave them a hit mark. If an archer couldn't hit the target, it would be the same as being blind. Moreover, these primitive archers could only hit a few points on the target. But after buying this hit, it was completely different. It could reach a maximum of 100%, which meant that there was basically no deviation and it would be a direct hit. However, it would cost quite a lot of gold. Lin Fei directly gave them 10 points. Any archer would have a hit rate of more than 10%, which was indeed not low. As for the broadsword, it was even easier. He directly added a strength. As for this, where did Heavenly Tao get it from? Lin Fei wasn't very clear. However, one thing was clear. This guy was quite good at operating. Looking at the current situation, it was really not something that anyone could withstand. It could be said that the bigger the farm, the more gold coins it produced, the more gold coins it produced. Lin Fei also discovered that after annexing the farm, he would get a certain reward, which was a high-grade seed. Naturally, it would be different for these high-level seeds. They produced more gold coins and bought more puppets. It was indeed quite a different set. Chapter 5441. In the blink of an eye, 20 years had passed. 20 years wasn't long, but it wasn't short either. As a result, the entire chaos world had become quite different. It far exceeded Lin Fei's expectations. Originally, Lin Fei thought that everything was under his control. From the looks of it now, he felt that this matter was a little beyond his expectations. It was very different for what he expected. First of all, there was a huge change in the various forces. This change was obviously the kind that could be seen. As a result, his strength in all aspects continued to rise. They bought all kinds of methods. It also made them exceptionally strong. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it. Having gone out personally, he could see it more clearly than anyone else. It was indeed a complete mess. The most important thing was that every once in a while, a treasure would be released. This treasure would make everyone fight for it. Naturally, it would be of great help to those who fought for it. They would also be able to get more so-called merit seeds. What was the use of merit seeds? That was to be used to grow more valuable things. Lin Fei didn't fight for it from start to finish. In his opinion, these things were just SOSO and not as valuable as he had imagined. He couldn't be bothered to get involved anymore, but his ability was obvious to all. Not everyone could change it. That was why these forces had become extraordinarily powerful. Of course, there was more news about the heavenly Tao reincarnation. Lin Fei had gone to find God before. After all, this guy was quite capable. When he came here, he realized that his farm was exceptionally strong. He even built a city. His strength was indeed very different from before. As expected from someone from above, he had already arranged everything properly. Fortunately, Lin Fei wasn't interested in this. He left after learning about it. Finally, he came to Chu Qingqing. Chu Qingqing could be considered quite capable. Her strength increased extremely quickly. Even this farm was the same. After all, the Great Void Sex farm was different from others. Now, Yao Yao was already in the lead. She was also very strong. Lin Fei came over. Chu Qingqing was extremely excited. She had always felt that this was a test for her. I didn't expect him to come today. You've done very well. In these aspects, you're more outstanding than anyone else. You far exceeded my expectations. If it was something else, it would be fine, but this was different. Not everyone could succeed easily. Lin Fei was naturally happy. Right now, we don't know how the situation will develop. It seems to be very different from before. I even heard that some people are secretly planning to attack us. I don't know what will happen. Chu Qingqing also felt some pressure. This pressure came from all directions. Of course, these people did not directly attack. He also knew why these people didn't make a move. They were afraid of Lin Fei. Lin Fei's strength was quite fierce and domineering. Anyone who underestimated it would suffer a great loss. This loss was quite obvious. As long as I'm here, they won't use any tricks. You just have to run your business honestly. Lin Fei left a lot of good things. After all, he had a lot of gold here. As for the good seeds, why didn't he bring them here? Because it was very likely that they wouldn't be able to keep watch. Those people would take the risk. On the contrary, they had nothing here, so Chu Qingqing would be even safer. She wouldn't be in any danger. No one would have any thoughts about it. Everything was under control. They only left some things behind when they left. These things would be of great help to 33. At least for the time being, no one would be able to move them. Lin Fei also returned to his own farm. When he returned, he found that there were many faintly discernible, mysterious figures around him. These figures followed one after another. They didn't use any tricks. He seemed to know what they meant when he saw them. These guys were probably preparing to have some ideas. He had suffered a loss before. He didn't expect it to happen again. They were too daring. Chapter 5442. Previously, Lin Fei had already dealt with a bunch of them. He didn't expect them to come again. Moreover, they seemed to have more ideas this time. Lin Fei snorted coldly and attacked right away. The moment he attacked, his strength swept out. All the life auras within the area were instantly wiped out. After all, his strength was incomparably strong, not to mention that he had made a breakthrough in his current strength. Hence, he didn't care about them at all. He just crushed them. In an instant, they turned into gray, flying wolves. Not to mention that there was no one who could stop them at this moment. It was as simple as that. After dealing with them, Lin Fei didn't care much about them anymore. The strength of these fellows was just SOSO. Not to mention their strength was at most at stage 2. They weren't that strong. They were mostly used to monitor the situation on his side. Lin Fei couldn't be bothered to find out where these people came from. Just this move alone was enough to make them realize what was different. If there's nothing else outside, go and clean it up. Now that there are more people, we don't need anyone to get close. From today onwards, anyone who enters within 1,000,000 miles will be killed. Lin Fei was quite simple. He just gave an order. Naturally, Oxman was really excited. He brought the Torns out. But now, the Torns were different. All of them were armed to the teeth, and their strength was also very strong. If anyone underestimated it, they would suffer greatly. There was no need to think too much about it. Oxman wasn't joking. Just like that, 1,000,000 miles outside instantly became a dead zone. During this period, some people came over. However, the moment they came, they were all wiped out. What Lin Fei had to do was to sell crops. After a large amount of gold coins, he exchanged them for a large amount of items. His archers, axemen, and even mages were all there. Compared to before, this time was totally different. Their strength was getting stronger and stronger. One could say that Lin Fei had prepared a large amount of strength here. It's just that those guys haven't made a move yet. He didn't know what was going on, but Lin Fei couldn't be bothered. Another 30 years passed. In the past 30 years, they had been fighting back and forth. Lin Fei's place was quite quiet. Since the last time, no one had come over. The area within 1,000,000 kilometers had become a true death zone. Meanwhile, Lin Fei was also constantly accumulating gold coins. It was unknown how many gold coins he had accumulated over the years. Just taking it out was enough to shock people. It could be said that this was the fastest way to earn money. I've finally reached 50 billion gold coins. I have to take a good look and see what other good items there are. Lin Fei was also sorting out the various equipment, but what he was most concerned about was the items that could be exchanged later. In a short period of time, he had accumulated tens of billions of gold coins. It could be said that 10 billion was the first one. There was no reward this time, but Lin Fei didn't care much about it. In fact, he was hoping for that to happen. Otherwise, it would be quite troublesome. Who knew whether or not those people would be thinking about it? Right now, 50 billion gold coins could be used to buy things. The more expensive thing to buy was the so-called evil pool. However, the evil pool didn't give out too many items that made his eyes light up. 50 billion gold coins was different. He would be able to exchange for something really good. If he missed this opportunity, he didn't know when he would get another one. This time, no matter what, he had to get it. He opened the sky curtain again. Then his gaze fell on this item. 50 billion gold coins. Panga Giant. Chapter 5443. What could he buy with 50 billion gold coins? Of course, he wanted to buy the most powerful warrior guarding the farm. It was also one of the higher-level warriors that he could exchange for. After all, it was tens of billions of gold coins. Not everyone could do it. At least, that was how he saw it. It took him a long time to save up those gold coins. Now, he finally got what he wanted. He spent 50 billion gold coins to get a giant pangu. The giant pangu came out with a clatter. The giant pangu didn't look very tall when he came out. It was obvious that the so-called giant pangu was more domineering than he had imagined. Even if he just stood there casually, he gave off a very strong aura. He might even be the top existence here. After coming out, Lin Fei looked up and down. He was very serious. He also looked at it very carefully. He was indeed different from what he had imagined. He was very strong. You are the giant pangu. You actually have the legendary Panga bloodline. Lin Fei looked around and asked. This fellow looked exactly like a human. There was no difference. He looked very ordinary, even if he was thrown into the crowd. Even after a glance, he felt that it was very inconspicuous. Such a person was indeed quite powerful. Not everyone could stand up to him. Yes, I have some of the great god Panga's bloodline. I am different from the others. However, my combat power is very strong. My defense is also very invincible. I am the strongest guard of the farm. It can be said that apart from me, there are not many people who are stronger than me. Hearing this, Lin Fei smiled. After all, this was the result he wanted. It seemed to be pretty good now. Okay, then you'll be the strongest guard here from now on. Guard this place. Such a pangu, actually felt different before coming out. It should be Bull 1. Bull 1 came over immediately. He could tell that this person was indeed very different from the others. He was also very strong. However, he still felt that he had a fight with him. However, after fighting, he realized that he wasn't a match for him at all. With a single strike of the axe, he was sent flying. He couldn't resist at all. It was a complete defeat. If one didn't take a look, one wouldn't know, but the moment one did, he was shocked. Lin Fei was not surprised at all. He was the only one who could go all out. That was the only way he could suppress this Pangu giant. This Pangu Giant 5 was indeed worth it for 10 billion gold coins. In the entire Heavens Dao space, there were probably only a few people who could buy something like this. He didn't believe that everyone was as rich as him. There are many good things. Peaches of immortality could be exchanged for large amounts of gold coins. After that was the so-called ginseng fruit. They could also be exchanged for a large amount of gold coins. The Pangu Giant was the being that Lin Fei wanted to exchange for the most right now. With Pangu warriors, the farm would naturally become stronger and stronger. Unfortunately, he didn't know how long it would take for the second one to appear. It would take at least 2 or 3 years. Of course, it could also take 1 or 2 years. After all, he was much more prepared than before. That way, he would be able to leave more gold coins for storage. To buy this giant, the Pangu Giant. Lord, I feel that something special has appeared in this space. This special thing has a strong life force. Do you want to take a look? Lilith came over. Hearing this, Lin Fei was stunned. A strong life force? I don't think I could find it. Lin Fei said as he tried to sense it. He tried to sense it. He was able to sense it with just one touch. There was indeed such an existence. You're right. There really is such a thing in that place. Lin Fei didn't pay attention to the outside world recently. He didn't expect such a thing to appear right under his nose. It really made his eyes light up. Chapter 5444. If it was something else, it wouldn't matter. This thing's words really made him feel like his eyes had lit up. No matter what, he had to take a good look. He had to see what was going on. He couldn't miss such an opportunity. Therefore, he flew over alone. After flying over, he felt the so-called aura. It was really quite obvious. This was obvious to all. The closer he got, the stronger the life force was. When he arrived, he felt that there were already many people searching here. When they saw Lin Fei, their expressions changed slightly. They knew how powerful this person was, so they just stood aside. Lin Fei quickly found a place. He landed steadily on the ground. He could see it very clearly from where he stood. This seems to be the place. Could this be a hidden benefit of the so-called Heaven's Path space? Otherwise, it wouldn't have appeared here. After coming here, Lin Fei was quite surprised, because this situation was really rare. It was different from what he thought. In other words, this was a hidden benefit. That was quite a good method of manipulating the situation. It would be fine if it was something else, but he actually got such a thing here. It was really quite eye-catching. Following, he continued to walk down. This place was deep underground. As expected, there was something different. That was a special seed. This seed made people's eyes light up. It was really the kind of thing that would shock people if they didn't look at it. It was really quite obvious. This should be the so-called special thing. After taking a look, he knew what it was. This should be the famous merit seed. It should be the so-called yellow fruit of mystery. This thing is indeed quite different from the ginseng fruit. Of course, it's also the kind that makes people's eyes light up. So many people came to fight for it. Previously, he had signed in for the mysterious yellow energy. This thing was quite effective. Now that this yellow fruit of mystery appeared, its effect was quite amazing. He could earn a lot of gold coins. Recently, he hadn't signed in for anything good, so he naturally wanted to get some seeds back. But this so-called yellow fruit of mystery was different. He could also plant them and earn a lot of gold coins. If he missed this opportunity, there wouldn't be another one. Lin Fei immediately made his move and grabbed the yellow fruit of mystery. This thing was protected by a layer of power, but this power rumbled loudly in front of Lin Fei. He immediately broke down. However, just as he was about to make his move, a few more attacks came over. These attacks directly smashed onto Lin Fei's body. These guys knew how to operate it. He directly attacked Lin Fei. Although they knew that Lin Fei was very strong, they still didn't think that he was that strong. It was quite terrifying for them to do it themselves. No matter what, he had to let him know the gap between them. However, their attacks couldn't do anything to Lin Fei. It was directly taken down. Truly ferocious. Their attacks couldn't even break through Lin Fei's defense. It was just that simple. The yellow fruit of mystery fell into his hands. After it fell into his hands, he felt that this yellow fruit of mystery was indeed quite different. It was very precious, the kind where there was no comparison. I think you guys shouldn't fight with me. I already have this thing in my hands. Do you think you can snatch it from me? That's impossible. As soon as Lin Fei turned around, he attacked them. Just one move made them vomit blood. They couldn't resist at all. Even if these people came, it would be useless. Chapter 54:45. This thing really made people's eyes light up, especially for Lin Fei. He really hadn't thought about it before. He didn't expect to get such a good thing on this trip. If it was anything else, it would be fine. But this thing was really quite different. At least in his opinion, this thing could earn him a lot of gold coins. The others naturally didn't dare to make a move. They couldn't compete with Lin Fei at all. Who knew that Lin Fei was so strong? So they could only watch as Lin Fei left. Originally, Lin Fei was prepared to leave just like that. He didn't expect another good thing to appear. This good thing really surprised him. It seems that this heavenly Tao space is going to give me some benefits. Such a good merit seed actually appeared. Another one actually appeared in the distance. If he didn't have some tricks up his sleeves, he really wouldn't be able to sense it. Naturally, Lin Fei didn't stand on ceremony and ran over there. As soon as he came over, he saw the so-called powerful guys. These powerful guys were really quite fierce. They were also fighting crazily for something. At least when they were fighting for it, it made people feel the same. I'm sorry, I want this thing. Lin Fei's hand came down with a vicious grab. The whole world seemed to darken. Rumbling sounds could be heard from these people, and the aura of a terrifying threat was very, very obvious. With one look, they realized who it was. It was actually the famous Lin Fei. He was super strong, so they didn't dare to have any more thoughts. If they had any thoughts at this time, they would be at a huge disadvantage. They decisively retreated one by one. Lin Fei thought that he could have a good fight with them. In the end, he realized that he was thinking too much. It was really difficult to fight with them. He didn't have that chance. He didn't have the ability to fight. This thing could really be put aside. Coward. Lin Fei had a new thing in his hands. This new thing made his eyes light up. It really felt different. Seems like I'm really giving it away this time. This turned out to be a very rare good thing. This was the famous life seed. This thing really surprised Lin Fei. Although this thing looked like a one-time use item, he knew one thing better than anyone else. This thing was definitely not that easy to grow. It was probably a super big pit, and he would have to eat a lot of things. He didn't really care about this. As long as he could get his hands on it, it was fine. He had obtained a yellow mystery fruit, and now he had obtained a life seed. Indeed, it was quite a sight to behold. He really couldn't find anything else. At the very least, he was quite satisfied. He returned to his farm. He called Lilith over. Lilith was naturally different from the others. But I know exactly what's in here. When she saw these two things, she was even more surprised. Sir, this seems to be a life seed. I heard that this life seed can grow many incredible things. Lilith was quite knowledgeable about these things. She knew better than anyone that it was indeed not something that anyone could compare to. Since you know about this thing, it couldn't be better. I'll leave this thing to you in the future. Let it grow up quickly. I think you should be able to do this. Lilith nodded. No problem. I can grow this thing. There's no problem. When it came to growing things, Lin Fei was really not as good as Lilith. After having Lilith, it was completely different. He could easily take it down. He was thinking about it. The heavenly axiom actually released so many things. Although he only got the yellow mystery fruit and the life seed, there might be other good things. No matter what the heavenly axiom is thinking, I can get a lot of gold coins with these two things anyway. There's nothing to worry about. Chapter 54:46. He wasn't sure what Heavens will wanted to do. In any case, his heart was in a daze. He could tell that this guy wasn't planning on doing anything small. It was very likely that something big was going to happen. If that was the case, he had to be careful. Fortunately, He had a lot of things on hand. If this Heavens will really had something on his mind, he didn't know who would be following whom. Anyway, everything was under control for the time being. There wasn't much to worry about. The life seed and yellow fruit of mystery were planted immediately. However, planting these two things would consume a lot of merit points. Without a certain amount of merit points, it wouldn't be possible. This guy was quite good at calculating. However, Lin Fei didn't have much else, but he had a lot of merit points. Naturally, there was nothing to be afraid of. He wanted to see how this Heavens would operate. There was still some time before the chaotic war ended. At least for now, there were only a few people who were strong. They weren't at the level that shocked Lin Fei. He didn't have much to worry about. Anyway, these people wouldn't dare to come here for a while. They didn't have the guts. If they had the guts to come here, it would be easy. Unfortunately, these people were timid. They really didn't have such thoughts. The second batch of ginseng fruits was ripe. However, this time, they were directly exchanged for gold coins. None of them were left. Anyway, Lin Fei didn't need them anymore. His strength had already reached an absolute level. Moreover, he had the giant Pangu. The giant Pangu was already very strong. During this period, Pangu actually went out. He displayed his invincible strength. He was indeed ferocious. At the very least, he could easily break into a farm. Not many people could do such a thing. However, Pangu actually did it. It was really quite easy. It was also quite easy. Therefore, he was actually quite confident in Pangu. If he could get another giant Pangu, that would be great. That was a really good thing. However, 50 billion gold coins wasn't that easy to come by. This was a difficult problem. Therefore, he had to wait. Fortunately, there were more and more gold coins. First, there was the ginseng fruit, and then there was the mysterious yellow fruit. With the help of this life seed, he would be able to obtain it even faster. It was much easier and more convenient. In the blink of an eye, 50 years had passed. Many things had happened in the past 50 years. There were a few extremely ferocious existences. He had completely revealed his outstanding talent. He displayed the invincible great path. At the very least, the previous three were the fiercest. After that, there were the so-called rising existences. These newly risen existences were also exceptionally powerful in this place. After all, their foundations were much more solid, so they naturally couldn't be looked at with narrow-minded eyes. They were quite good at enduring loneliness. There was no movement at all. He had no intention of coming to Lin Fei's place to do anything. It was as if everything had nothing to do with Lin Fei. Lin Fei thought highly of them. These guys were indeed quite capable. They were different from the others. Lord, it seems that some powerful existences are coming from afar. I don't know if they have their eyes on our farm, or if they're going to attack together again. The giant Pangu was coming. The giant Pangu also had a name, Panga No. 1. Of course, this name was given by Lin Fei. He felt that it was quite a good name. After Panga No. 1, there would be Panga No. 2, or even Panga No. 3 or 4. It doesn't matter. They can come if they want. When the time comes, you could just go out and kill them. Let them have a good look at the strongest existences. I think they should be quite interested. Panga No. 1's eyes lit up. No one knew better than them that it was indeed time for them to make a move. If they made a move, things would be different. They could teach those existences a lesson that they wouldn't forget. Half a day later, soon, some figures came to this side. The figures that had arrived were indeed mighty and majestic. Very majestic. They were completely different from before. But no matter what, they were indeed coming over. This was something that no one could stop. Chapter 5447. The giant Pango charged out right away. He was prepared to have a good fight with them. It all depended on whether or not they had the ability to do so. Not long after, they arrived. However, when these people arrived, they immediately stopped. They didn't look like they were going to attack. This surprised Lin Fei a little. Taoist Lin, we didn't come here to fight. There's no meaning in starting a fight for us. We came here purely to discuss something with you. A figure walked out. It was a man in black armor. He looked really mysterious. He told Lin Fei the moment he walked out. Lin Fei wasn't in a hurry to come out. Instead, the giant Pangu charged out without saying a word. He had to teach these guys a lesson. He had to let them know the difference. All of them truly felt that something was different. They didn't expect the giant Pangu to charge in. Then, he really attacked left and right. Instantly, they were forced to retreat. Not many of them could even defend against him. One could imagine how strong these people were. Lin Fei just watched quietly. He didn't plan to attack either. He could also clearly see that these people were indeed quite powerful, and they had the strength to back it up. They weren't weak like the others. After the giant Pangu charged back and forth a few times, all of them felt an incomparable amount of pressure. They didn't expect this person to be so strong. And so strong. It truly made them feel different. It was only when they retreated that they felt their hearts palpitating. They had never faced something like this before. This person's strength was truly fearsome. Such strength was not something that just anyone could withstand. At the very least, they could see it clearly after watching for a while. What do you want to talk to me about? You can say it now. Lin Fei finally walked out. He just looked at these people. They did have a strong aura. But after being attacked by the giant Pangu, it was naturally different. Their eyes were filled with fear. Who could have expected this guy to be so strong? It would be fine if he wasn't this strong, but it was different if he was this strong. We're here to seek cooperation. This person spoke again. Although he couldn't see his face clearly, this guy's injuries were not light. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so fearful like he was now. You're quite interesting. I thought you people were here to cause trouble for me. Lin Fei himself was quite puzzled. Who would have thought that he would encounter such a thing? They were actually here to cooperate with him. It was really a little unprecedented. It's fine if you want to attack me, but you actually want to cooperate with me? However, these guys were probably well-behaved for now. Then let's hear it. What kind of cooperation is it? If you're interested, we can cooperate. If not, then forget it. I'm a very casual person. We want to join your farm and become your subsidiary force. This time, even Lin Fei himself was a little surprised. He had never encountered such a situation before. This fellow actually brought his troops over to seek refuge with him. This was completely different from what he had imagined. He had thought that it was some kind of cooperation, but it turned out that it was to rely on him. But on second thought, it seemed to be quite normal. Everyone knew exactly what was going on. It was indeed time for them to make a choice. If they chose well, they would naturally live longer. If they chose poorly, then it would be bad. Basically, they wouldn't be lucky. You want to rely on my farm? Indeed, we want to rely on you. We have already brought our men over and hope that we can contribute. We hope that Sir Lin can take us in. Chapter 5448. In the end, Lin Fei decided to take them in, especially after confirming that there was nothing wrong with them. He decided to take them in. It was only a matter of time. After all, they didn't want to get involved. Then, there was only one thing left to do. That was to find a force to rely on. It sounded simple, but it wasn't that easy. Lin Fei quickly figured out their origins. He also knew some details about them. They actually came from a force from another world. This force was quite strong over there. Of course, after coming here, it was completely different. From the very beginning, Lin Fei knew that there were quite a few aboriginals on their side. Moreover, these aboriginals were all extremely strong. After the natives came here, they encountered a lot of trouble. For example, their strength was greatly affected, and it wasn't necessarily that they were strong over there. Clearly, they were at a disadvantage. Under such circumstances, they could only look for a backer. After searching for a while, they felt that only this backer was the most powerful. It seemed like they could put the other backers aside for now. Only this backer was the most mysterious. They came. Fortunately, everything went as they had imagined, and it went very smoothly. At the beginning, they suffered a bit, but they knew that they made the right choice. Sir, we also received news that the power of the way of heaven will come soon. Lin Fei frowned slightly. This situation was quite surprising. Cleansing of the way of heaven? Tell me about it. Let me broaden my horizons. Actually, it's a cleansing method that covers the entire space, and it will come soon. As he spoke, Lin Fei finally understood what it meant. So that was the case. No wonder they had to look for a different method. In the face of the absolute power of heaven and earth, not everyone could withstand it. This point was quite obvious. If he could really withstand it, he wouldn't be like this now. It was also a reminder to Lin Fei, and it was quite obvious. Fortunately, Lin Fei didn't care about this. His thoughts were quite simple. If it really came, he could still withstand it. After all, the resources he had on hand weren't a joke, more than anyone could ever imagine. These people were arranged to the outermost area, to monitor the outside world. However, to them, being able to rely on a powerful force was also a real relief. What could be more reassuring than this? He really didn't? Lin Fei also returned to his normal life. However, after the first faction had chosen to side with them, a few more factions came over one after another. These forces all had the same goal. That was normal. They were all here for him, after making sure that there were no problems with the new arrivals. So he took it. Let them be on the outside. This time, there were quite a few people who came. The outside had also become exceptionally lively. The days came quickly. There was a lot of movement. These movements were very obvious and could be seen at a glance. Even Lin Fei himself was surprised. A huge whirlpool appeared between the heavens and the earth. Just like that, the whirlpool came over with great vigor. Wherever the whirlpool passed, it carried out the so-called cleaning. It wasn't something that just anyone could bear. Lin Fei didn't care much about it. No one knew it better than him. This time, it was indeed very different. This was definitely not a small disaster. A disaster like this was really not something that anyone could withstand. And this is an elimination. Let's see if these people can withstand it. If they can't, they will be eliminated. Chapter 5449. The cleanup operation this time was huge. It was very ferocious. They didn't stop at all along the way. It was vast and mighty. Moreover, Lin Fei discovered something else that was extremely inconceivable. That was that their strength was actually affected again. This was something that didn't exist before, but now it actually existed. In other words, this time it wasn't just a simple cleanup. In fact, everyone's strength was sealed once again. One could imagine how ferocious the cleanup operation was this time. Almost every day, there would be people who couldn't take it and were cleared out. It was even far beyond Lin Fei's expectations. He was extremely shocked. It seemed that he had really underestimated Tiandao this time. It was a very huge scene. When he first came here, his farm was directly affected a lot. But fortunately, Lin Fei was already prepared. A large formation was directly opened. He even used his own strength. In this way, it wouldn't be easy to kill them. Otherwise, it would really be difficult. It had been going on for a whole year. It seemed that it was almost over. Basically, almost half of the people had been cleared. Even though he didn't pay much attention, he could still clearly feel that who knew how many people had been cleared out in this year. Now, only half of them were left. If half were cleared, it would be different. At least half of them would be much less competitive. But their strength had also been suppressed a lot. Compared to before, it was indeed quite different. If he didn't see it with his own eyes, he really wouldn't dare to believe it. This Tiandao was too good at messing around. Moreover, he estimated that everyone could at most use 30 to 40% of their strength now. Compared to before, there was indeed a huge change. On this day, the forceful cleaning finally came to an end. It also made him realize that a new scene was coming. Since so many people had been cleared out, something would definitely happen. Sir, what do you think will happen next? I think many people have been cleared out. Our large farm is the only one left in the vicinity. Hulk One had made a special trip out of the city. He knew it better than anyone else. Lin Fei wasn't surprised at all. All of this was within his expectations. Isn't this a very normal thing? Lin Fei already knew that it would cause a huge commotion. Not everyone could resist it. Being able to exist in this place was naturally different. Lin Fei also went out to have a look. Indeed, the so-called farm could no longer be seen. It was almost razed to the ground. However, before he could make any movements, this part of the world seemed to slowly shrink. This feeling was quite intense. At first, he didn't feel anything, but in the blink of an eye, there was a huge change. He could sense the difference more than anyone else. He was extremely shocked. He didn't expect such a thing to happen. Looks like the space in this world is going to shrink. Interesting, very interesting. Lin Fei narrowed his eyes and flew to the outermost area. When he reached the outermost circle, he could indeed see this place. It kept shrinking inwards. It was quite obvious. It was moving almost every second. It seemed like the one who could struggle to the end would be the winner. Lin Fei also felt a certain amount of pressure. The pressure was not small. At the very least, he could see it. At this moment, everyone probably realized this problem. Then what they could do next was very simple. That meant that he had to shift his position immediately. The range of expansion or contraction seemed to be irregular, which meant that it might be a little more here or there. It was more of an unknown. It was more of a guess. Chapter 5450. This time, it seemed that he was quite capable. At least, that was what he thought. If it wasn't for this capable method, not many people would take it seriously. At the very least, after the range kept shrinking, the scene became completely different. Everyone began to frantically move their positions. They didn't know when they would be hit or when they could withstand it. So the scene became extremely interesting. They weren't idle either. After all, he could see it clearly. He could see it more clearly than anyone else. Sometimes, this matter had to be treated seriously. So he observed for a while. This shrinking range didn't have any rules. It was as if it was out of thin air. It was really hard to grasp where it was. As a last resort, Lin Fei could only use a stupid method. That was to harvest all the things that could be harvested. This was the only way to avoid some trouble. When the time came, he would be able to leave at random. Otherwise, who knew how long it would take? In any case, he didn't know what was going on. Bull 1 ran outside every day. He knew one thing more than anyone else. This guy was indeed quite direct. However, he also heard a lot of news. At the same time, he also brought the so-called Taurens of various sizes. It seemed like he was going to fight outside. Lin Fei didn't stop him. Just like that, a year passed in the blink of an eye. He didn't feel much change in a year's time. Lin Fei had been observing. It should be this so-called thing, which is also the so-called direction. Under his careful observation, he really saw a rather interesting thing. It was really coming towards this place. This place was even more obvious. If nothing goes wrong, it should be coming here, and it's going to take down all of this place. This made Lin Fei have to do one thing. In that case, he would have to change his location. Otherwise, there would be no place to hide this time. As for where to change places, he wasn't sure. As a result, he found Lilith. Lilith was quite sensitive to the aura of life. Her strength had improved a lot over the years. Sir, if you want to change places, I think there is a place that should be quite suitable. Where's this place? This is the place. It's in the center of the map. There aren't many places like this. It could be used as our base camp. I've also sensed this place. It's really unusual. Look at the map. He described the location. The others didn't know the location, but Lin Fei's words were very clear. After all, his memory was extremely good, so he could naturally sense where this place was. It's this place. I remember this place seems to be in a valley. That place is in the middle, so it's not a big problem. It's still possible to operate it. Lin Fei immediately knew what this place was. It was quite a suitable place for cooperation. If you were talking about other places, it would be fine, but this place is indeed fine. So far, he wasn't sure where this place was headed. All right, then let's move. Let's move to this place. Lin Fei didn't think too much about it. The first thing he did was to bring everyone to move. This was the place they moved to. Along the way, they saw many people moving frantically. They changed places crazily. However, after seeing Lin Fei and the others, there wasn't much change. They were already used to it. As long as they didn't come to snatch their territory, they would laugh. From the beginning to the end, Lin Fei didn't intend to snatch any of their places. This made them finally heave a long sigh of relief. The scary guy was finally going over. If he didn't go over, they would be quite worried. Now, there was nothing for him to worry about. He got what he wanted and moved to another place. This valley was indeed quite inconspicuous, but the surroundings of this valley were indeed very different from other places. It seems that this place is quite suitable. After one round, he was quite satisfied. 7,017K.